Sign the deed, Emily. Don't drag this out. My father's voice was smooth, rehearsed, as if I were some stranger caught stealing. And don't pretend you earned that house, my mom added, tilting her wine glass. Your brother deserves it more. You're single. You don't need all that space. Her words landed like a knife turned slow. The chandelier above us buzzed faintly, light reflecting in the polished wood of the dining table where this ambush had been staged. My brother smirked, tapping his fingers, waiting for me to fold, like I always did. Hi everyone. My name is Celine, I'm 29. And if you think you know how this ends, stay tuned. Tell me, what do you call family when their love feels like a courtroom verdict already signed? Dad slid a thick envelope across the table. The legal weight of it thudded against my elbow. We'll sue if you force us. Monday morning. Our lawyer's ready. I didn't touch it. My chest rose and fell against the silence, against the stale scent of chicken left in the oven too long, against Liam's smug little grin. His laugh, sharp and shallow, broke the air. On a teacher's salary, he mocked. Come on, Celine, let's be real. That house isn't yours to keep. The laugh was small, but it detonated everything inside me. Memories reeled. Birthdays where he got bikes and gadgets while I got hand-me-downs, holidays where he was toasted as the golden child while I was barely in the frame. Always his future, never mine. But this house, the faded blue siding, the creaky porch steps, the lemon tree I nursed through frost, this was mine. I fought for it, paid for it, protected it. I slid my phone from my pocket, pulse steady now, and pulled up an email thread. Subject line, title and deed confirmed. Attached. Records, receipts, proof that every nail, every bill, every cent bore my name alone. I met Dad's eyes. Monday works, I said, my voice like ice across a pond ready to crack. My lawyer will be waiting. For the first time the table stilled. Mom's hand froze around her glass. Liam's smirk collapsed. Dad's jaw twitched, a tiny storm beneath his skin. I rose, pushing back my chair, feeling the varnished edge of the table under my palm. The very table where I'd once begged for approval was now just wood beneath my hand. Remember this, Dad said quietly, almost a warning. You started it. I glanced at the folder, untouched, then at the door where the hallway light spilled like an escape route. Outside the night was cold and pure. I dialed my lawyer. He answered on the first ring. I explained. He listened. Then he laughed, not cruel but free, the kind of laugh that sounds like chains falling. Celine, he said, calm and sure, they don't have a case. The house is yours. End of story. But deep inside I knew this wasn't the end. It was only the first crack in the facade my family had built around me. And cracks, once they start, don't stop until everything breaks. The porch light hummed above me as I clutched the phone tighter. My lawyer's laugh still echoed in my ear, steady as a drumbeat in the middle of chaos. For the first time in years, someone wasn't telling me to give in. Inside the house, voices rose, muffled, frantic. My brother's sharp tone cut through. She's bluffing, Mom. She doesn't have the guts. My father's lower growl followed, the way thunder threatens before a storm. I stayed outside, letting the cold air scrape my lungs clean. Celine, my lawyer continued, his voice calm, professional, almost soothing, I've reviewed everything. The deed is airtight. They can huff, puff, even hire the biggest firm in town. Doesn't matter. They can't touch you. I pressed my forehead against the porch post. My breath fogged in front of me, vanishing like smoke. For years I'd believed their voices over my own. That I was small. That I owed them my silence. Tonight, silence was no longer currency. Thank you, I whispered, voice catching. You don't have to thank me, he said. Just stand your ground. You've earned this. I ended the call. My phone screen reflected my face. Eyes darker, harder, as if I were meeting myself for the first time. Behind the glass door I saw movement. Liam pacing, Mom wringing her hands, Dad rubbing his temples like the weight of control was suddenly too heavy. I opened the door, not stepping inside, just leaning against the frame. The warmth from the dining room spilled toward me, mixed with the acrid smell of overcooked rosemary. You can't scare me anymore, I said softly. My mother froze, her mouth half open. Dad's pen slipped from his hand, clattering against the table. Liam scoffed, but it came out thin, shaky. You'll regret this, he hissed. I almost laughed. Funny. That's exactly what I used to think every time I wanted to say no. I stepped back into the night, the door swinging shut behind me with a click that sounded final, like a gavel striking wood. Driving home, the city lights smeared across my windshield, rain beginning to needle the glass. My chest felt lighter with every mile between me and their table. But beneath that relief was something sharper, anticipation. Because I knew my family. They wouldn't retreat. They'd circle, scheme, try again. And for the first time I was ready. The storm outside grew heavier, but inside my car I smiled. Sometimes freedom doesn't come from leaving quietly. It comes from staying loud enough that they finally hear you. And tonight they heard me. But tomorrow they would feel it. Morning light slipped through the blinds, fractured into thin blades across my bedroom wall. I barely slept. My phone buzzed nonstop through the night. Missed calls from Mom, texts from Dad, even a voice message from Liam dripping with rage. You'll be sorry, Celine. I'll make sure of it. I didn't delete it. I saved it, cataloged like evidence. Coffee steamed in my cup as I sat at my kitchen table, the one piece of furniture I'd bought brand new when I first moved in. Not a hand-me-down. Not a gift with strings attached. My table. My space. My rules. The lemon tree outside the window trembled in the morning wind. Yellow fruit hung heavy on the branches. Proof of roots, of resilience. I traced the rim of my mug, grounding myself. By 9 there was a knock at the door. Sharp, insistent. I opened it to find my parents, both dressed like they were heading to church. Polished, composed, masks strapped on tight. Liam stood behind them, sunglasses hiding his eyes though the day was gray. Mom's smile was brittle. Celine, darling. We don't need lawyers. Let's just sit down and talk. Dad's voice followed, low and clipped. You've embarrassed us enough. Don't drag this through court. It will get ugly. Something in me shifted. Their words no longer burrowed under my skin. They skimmed the surface, powerless. I stepped aside, gestured toward the porch bench. We can talk here. Not inside. Their faces faltered just for a second. They weren't used to boundaries. Liam muttered, "This is ridiculous." He shoved his hands in his pockets, restless like a child denied candy. I sat across from them, legs crossed, back straight. You came here to threaten me again. Don't bother. My lawyer's waiting for your call. Mom's eyes glistened, not with tears but with fury held back. We raised you, Celine. We gave you everything. I almost laughed. Everything? Or everything left over after Liam? The silence that followed was electric, dangerous. My father's jaw tightened so hard I thought it might shatter. Liam's sunglasses couldn't hide the twitch at the corner of his mouth. You've changed, Dad said finally, venom behind the words. No, I replied, my voice calm, steady. I just stopped being small. They left without another word, the sound of their footsteps on my porch sharp as knives. My chest trembled with adrenaline, but I didn't waver. Inside, I picked up my phone, replayed Liam's voice message one more time. A plan began to form, sharp and precise. If they wanted a war, I wasn't going to fight with shouting or fists. I was going to fight with truth. And the truth, once released, has a way of burning everything in its path. I sat at my desk, the glow of my laptop casting pale light across the room. Liam's voice message looped in my earbuds. You'll be sorry, Celine. I'll make sure of it. Every time it played, the malice behind his words sounded more like desperation. My lawyer's email blinked at the top of my inbox. Forward me any communications. They'll prove harassment if this escalates. A thin smile tugged at my lips. They wanted war? I'd give them paper trails, receipts, timelines. The kind of truth that doesn't vanish when the shouting stops. I pulled out a small box from under my bed, the one I swore I'd never open again. Inside were fragments of years I'd tucked away. Unpaid bills I'd covered for Liam, a prom dress I'd bought myself when Mom said the budget was used up on him, even the faded letter from my college scholarship office. The one they tried to convince me to turn down so Liam's tuition could be the family priority. Each piece was more than memory, it was evidence of a pattern. I spread them out across the table like puzzle pieces, and for the first time I saw the full picture. I hadn't been the black sheep, I had been the safety net. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from an unknown number. Family shouldn't be enemies. Drop the act before everyone knows what you've really done. I stared at the words, a bitter laugh slipping out. What I'd really done? Paid bills? Saved receipts? Built a life on scraps while they poured gold into Liam's hands? The irony sliced deep. They feared exposure, not of lies I told but of truths they buried. That evening, rain hammered the roof and thunder rolled in the distance. I sat at my laptop drafting something new, not for my lawyer, not yet. For my family. A letter. Final. I laid out everything. The mortgage documents, the payments, the messages saved in my phone. I reminded them of the nights I'd covered Liam's debts, the holidays I was forgotten, the times their silence cut deeper than words. But the letter wasn't just accusation, it was a mirror. A reflection of what they had built. And at the bottom I added one line. If you push this into court, the truth won't stay in this house. It will follow us to every table, every holiday, every neighbor who asks why we don't speak anymore. I sealed it in an envelope, hand steady now. The storm outside shook the windows, but inside me there was only clarity. For the first time in my life I wasn't scared of their judgment. I was ready for them to choke on it. The letter sat heavy in my bag as I drove to my parents' house. The windshield wipers beat a frantic rhythm against sheets of rain, every mile pulling me deeper into the storm. By the time I pulled into their driveway, the world was gray, swollen with thunder. Through the dining room window I saw them. Mom fussing with napkins, Dad pacing, Liam slouched with his phone glowing against his face. They had set the stage again. Same table, same choreography, as if control could be reheated like leftovers. I walked up the steps, rain dripping from my coat, and knocked once. Dad opened the door, his expression a mask stretched too thin. You came, he muttered, half surprised, half relieved. Of course, I said, stepping inside. My shoes squeaked on the floor. Families should talk, right? They gathered at the table. Mom smoothed her skirt. Liam smirked without looking up. I pulled the envelope from my bag and placed it on the wood between us. The sound was soft but final, like a stone dropped into deep water. What's this? Mom asked, her voice laced with suspicion. Everything, I replied. Bills, records, messages, proof. I leaned forward, my voice calm. Proof that this house is mine. Proof that your threats won't hold. Proof that I've been the one carrying this family's weight while Liam played golden boy. Liam's smirk faltered. He shifted in his chair. Dad's jaw twitched. Mom's fingers tapped the envelope, hesitant, like it might burn. You're exaggerating, Dad said finally, his tone clipped. No, I said, my voice firm. You're minimizing. There's a difference. Silence swallowed the room. The clock ticked. The smell of reheated stew lingered in the air. Finally, Liam snapped. So what, you're gonna blackmail us with receipts? Pathetic. I met his glare. Not blackmail. Truth. If you want to drag me through court, then this becomes public record. Neighbors. Friends. Your colleagues, Dad. Everyone will see who you really are. The words cracked through the air like lightning. Mom's face blanched, Dad's shoulders stiffened, Liam's fists clenched against the table. You wouldn't dare, Dad growled. I already did, I whispered. Their heads snapped up. I let the silence stretch before I added, my lawyer has everything. Copies. Safe. The table went still. No one breathed. Rain rattled harder against the windows, thunder shaking the walls. In that silence I felt it, the first fracture. The mask of their power slipping, the weight of truth pressing against their carefully built facade. And I knew, this was no longer about a house. It was about control. And for the first time it was no longer theirs. The envelope sat unopened in the center of the table, pulsing like a live wire. My mother's fingers hovered above it, trembling ever so slightly. She wasn't trembling from fear of me. No, she was trembling from the fear of exposure. You're bluffing, Liam spat, but the crack in his voice betrayed him. He leaned forward, knuckles white against the table. You've always been dramatic. You wouldn't risk humiliating your own family. I tilted my head. Risk? Liam, humiliation isn't a risk. It's a consequence. One you brought on yourself. My father's eyes narrowed, the same eyes that once froze me in place when I was 12 and dared to say no to him. But now, that glare barely graced me. Celine, he said slowly, carefully, don't forget who fed you, clothed you, raised you. I leaned forward too, the wood cold against my palms. You didn't raise me. You raised Liam. I raised myself. The words landed, sharp as glass. My mother flinched, my father's mouth tightened, Liam's smirk collapsed into a scowl. "Don't talk to us like that," Mom hissed. "Why not?" I shot back. "You've talked down to me my whole life. And yet, who bailed Liam out when his car was repossessed? Who covered the utilities when you two were too busy funding his startup? Who kept this family from drowning while you called me ungrateful?" The silence was different now, heavier, suffocating. My mother's hand fell to her lap. My father's pen rolled off the table, clattering to the floor. Liam shifted in his chair, eyes darting between them. "Dad," he muttered, desperate, "say something." But Dad didn't. He just sat there, jaw clenched, because he knew I wasn't bluffing. He knew the truth, in black ink and dated receipts, was stronger than all his years of control. Finally I straightened. "Here's the deal. You want to sue me? Do it. But understand this. The courtroom won't just expose me, it'll expose you. Every secret, every choice, every favor that put Liam above me. And when that happens, it won't be me the world questions. It'll be you." The storm outside rumbled like applause. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the one shrinking at this table. They were. And I had only just begun. The silence cracked first with Liam's voice. "This is your fault," he snapped at Dad, jabbing a finger across the table. "You told me she'd fold. You said she'd sign." My father's face darkened. "Lower your voice." But Liam didn't. "You've always promised me things you couldn't deliver. Cars, businesses, now this house. You made me believe it was mine, and now—" His voice broke, thin with panic. "Now she's got the power." My mother reached for his arm. "Liam, stop. We can fix this." He yanked away. "Fix what? Everyone in town knows you two spoiled me rotten while Celine scraped by. If this goes to court, they'll eat us alive." The words hung heavy, undeniable. I didn't move. I just let the implosion unfold. Dad slammed his palm against the table. "Ungrateful boy. After everything we've done." "Everything you've done?" Liam barked a bitter laugh. "You used me as your golden ticket. I was your excuse to ignore her. Now she's the one holding the receipts and you can't handle it." My mother's face crumpled, tears threatening. "Please, please don't fight. We're family." But it was too late. The carefully built mask of unity shattered. I sat back, watching the storm I hadn't started but had always been forced to weather. For once I wasn't the target. I was the witness. The silence they had shoved me into for years had turned into a mirror, and they were choking on their reflection. I stood slowly, the chair legs scraping the floor. This is what happens when truth walks in. Don't blame me for the cracks. You built the glass house. They stared, speechless, the weight of their own collapse filling the room. And I walked out, certain the next move would be mine. The following Sunday, the same family table became a stage for their unraveling. They'd invited me, perhaps hoping to patch the cracks with smiles and forced toasts. But the air was thick, tense, every clink of cutlery sharp as glass. Liam tried first, his voice brittle. "We can forget all this, Celine. Just be reasonable." I set my napkin down. "Reasonable? You mean silent." Dad's fork froze midair. Mom's eyes darted between us. I reached into my bag and placed a single folder on the table. Not thick like before, just one clean copy. My lawyer's stamped response, neat and final. Case dismissed. Ownership undisputed. Their faces drained. No courtroom. No victory. No leverage left. I leaned in, voice calm but cutting. "You threatened me with lawyers. Turns out the law was on my side. No. So is the truth." The silence that followed wasn't the old silence of my shame. It was their defeat. Liam's jaw worked, but no words came. Dad looked smaller than I'd ever seen him. Mom pressed her lips together, fighting tears she couldn't disguise this time. I rose, steady, and smoothed my coat. "You taught me something tonight," I said softly. "Family isn't who silences you. It's who stands when the storm hits. And I stand alone just fine." I left them there, staring at the truth on their perfect table. Outside the air was cool, clear, unbroken. For the first time in my life, so was I.